I'm fresh off of passing my Security Plus exam. Yay! I also want to start off by saying that you are able to learn this independently, and you don't have to necessarily have cybersecurity experience. I have taken the ISC squared certified in cybersecurity course, but I didn't actually test for it, and that was very highly foundational as well. And I believe that anyone that puts their mind and time into learning the Security Plus objectives or concepts will be successful in passing on the first try. I was so nervous. I didn't want to take the exam again, even though I paid less than the $404 because of a voucher that I had, a discount voucher. It was just something I didn't want to invest in more than once. So these tips will very likely help you pass on your first try if you apply these tips, and I'll be sure to timestamp and include in the description basically a synopsis of what I've discussed and the highly recommended tests and books that you may want to use. One resource I wish I used more is this book here. It gives you a great foundational basis of the Security Plus concepts, and if you want to retain the information for long term, I would recommend using that book, but I didn't use it as much. I'll show you the book that I did use most. Is Daryl Gibson's Security Plus Get Certified Get Ahead guide. I went through all the chapters. The first chapter I read through thoroughly, and I think I did really well on the end of the chapter exam or practice set. And after that, I was able to essentially skim through the chapters and get the bolded terminology, or skim through that and get the sentences with bolded terminology. I'll show you an example. For example, intrusion prevention system is bolded here, and I would read those sentences or concepts. I took both the practice tests in the front of the book for pre-examination and then the post-exam. At the end, I was scrambling for time, so I didn't get to thoroughly go through all of the multiple choice answer explanations. There was sort of a plateau where I feel like I was not retaining any more additional information, but getting corrective details about concepts that I may have not knew. I also used Professor Messer notes, but there was a timeline and a gap in my studying where I didn't get to consistently practice over a long period of time. I'll get the timelines in for you with screenshots, but I would say that I didn't retain the information as I wanted to because of that long gap of time. When I took my first Professor Messer practice exam, I did okay, and then I started progressively getting better. I'll provide you with the scores as well, and screenshots of how the exam looked and how I studied, basically side by side after taking my practice exam for timed 90 minutes. I would have a split screen with the answer key responses as well as the explanations. And I highlighted back on the test that I took, the screen of that, the correct answer as well. I used the practice test primarily to gauge if I was ready for the exam, but I didn't use it to its full extent, which I would recommend being able to take the exam more than once if possible, as well as reviewing the ones that were incorrect again and noting down because Professor Messer provides links and objective numbers next to the questions that you answered incorrectly, or all the answer keys for that matter. So I was able to review some of the notes that I took before my long gap in studying based off of the videos that I watched. I went through the entire playlist of the Security Plus 701. Right before the test, I saw on Reddit, not right before the test, but the day before the exam, I saw on Reddit a recommended practice test by Professor Nasser or Dr. Nasser. I'll include a screenshot of it on Udemy here. And I feel like that was very close to how the questions were worded. The questions weren't wordy or extremely scenario based. I feel like I couldn't have prepared for the PBQ questions at all, but it does allow you to apply concepts that you may have learned. And so I was able to just answer them the best that I could. And I believe that I may have gotten 1 out of the 3 PBQ questions that I received correct. I also had 76 questions total, so 3 PBQs and 73 multiple choice questions. And I felt like I was unsure about 21 of the questions, but my objectives that I got incorrect total to 13 objectives incorrect. So I got a 76 for after the minimum passing score of 750. And I would say that this was a great objective for me to have, to just get foundational knowledge in cybersecurity, as well as be able to apply for positions or be able to just have the certification under my belt. Do you plan on taking your Security Plus exam? Do you feel prepared? Are there any other tips that you'd like to have? I would recommend sleeping well the day before, as the customary exam tips go, and having a good breakfast. I would say my testing site, it was not as cold, but I did bring a jacket just in case. I would say you'd want to focus on the foundational concepts of cybersecurity within the Security Plus exam, as I was very worried about little details, but without saying too much, being able to point back to some of the concepts and understanding them fully helped me on the exam, or helped me to pass the exam. I also would recommend just knowing a little bit of the acronyms. Even if you just know what they stand for, it'll help you answer a lot of the questions, because you'll cancel out a lot of choices that have nothing to do with the question the exam is asking you. Another thing I was concerned about was, how did the exam kind of look, or how would I be able to keep time. So the exam has a timer for you, and it doesn't take away from your exam time. The 90 questions that you may have is not taken away by the instruction screen or the pre-screen and the end of exam survey. It was an exam where you're able to review questions or mark them for review and come back to them later. So I would highly recommend taking Dr. Nasser's 4 practice exam questions to get you used to the wording of the questions. That was a great recommendation I gladly found, as well as the layout of how the exam is taken. That was a very close simulation, and I would say that was my favorite practice exam looking back now. The Professor Master exams were helpful in gaining knowledge about the foundational concepts as well, so I couldn't have or I don't believe I would have done as well without taking and learning the concepts that Professor Messer introduced. I'll be very responsive to comments or questions you may have, so please don't hesitate to comment down below. Like if you like the tips, and share if you have someone that is wanting to take the Security Plus exam and just needs a relaxer, because you got this. The apps I didn't use as much, but they were fun to use. And lastly, the Exam Cram series on YouTube by Inside Cloud and Security was very helpful as well.